You go, oh yeah. Now that, oh yeah. Now give it back to Piggy. He was sucking it better. Oh, now say my name. NMN. Say my name. NMN. What? Oh, fuck you guys. Give me my dick back. Fuck you guys. If you want NMN, you can have NMN. Fuck you guys. I'm leaving. No, wait. Oh. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast. My name is Harley Neville.
And my name's Guy Pigden. And obviously a reference to the famous Eminem skit.
Yep.
From the Eminem, the Slim Shady LP.
It's from the Marshall Mathers LP.
Sorry, Marshall Mathers LP.
Yeah.
My bad. Shame, didn't get that.
Bummed out.
Well, I actually just got the names mixed up. I was thinking of the right album,
yeah.
but I got the wrong name.
An easy mistake.
Slim Shady LP came first. Then it was the Marshall Mathers LP. This skit is on the Marshall Mathers LP.
Yeah.
This is
arguably the greatest.
Arguably, well, maybe not even arguably.
Maybe just the greatest.
Maybe just the greatest Eminem album of all time. One of the greatest rap albums of all time.
That came out 25 years ago, by the way.
If you want to feel old.
Yeah, May 23rd, 2020. So it's now May 22nd. What a coincidence. That's a funny coincidence.
We've lived through Eminem being like kind of this rap punk hero to uncool. To uncool, semi-cancelled, old middle-aged man. You know, I actually often think about his raps where he disrespects old people.
Yeah.
You know, like
who's laughing now, Marshall?
You know, you 36-year-old
bald-headed fag, blow me.
In reference to Moby.
Yeah.
You're too old.
Let go. It's over. Nobody listens to techno.
So, are you too old, Eminem, to make music as a 50-year-old man?
Well, the thing is, so do you think he's uncool and semi-cancelled now? Because I thought you were going to say that he kind of went through. He started off, you know, underground, blew up, became the main thing, the big thing, kind of fell off for a while after the Eminem show, basically. Like, the Eminem show was a great album. And then after that, there was like several quite shit albums where he's putting on these silly voices, and he kind of lost me around that period. Yep. And then
came back.
And then he came back. His latest album's actually good. And he came back, you know, when like Machine Gun Kelly dissed him. And kind of came back with Kill Shot, and it was all pretty good. And like all my social media that I'm seeing is still saying that he's the GOAT. You know? It's like it's all like he's the GOAT. You know.
So there is a section of the rap community that absolutely acknowledges this.
Yeah.
And there is also a segment of the rap or hip hop community that is over him. And like a younger gen, I guess it just he is not the person that we would assert. Like, he is not to them what he is to us. Obviously, that's an obvious statement. Just like Bruce Springsteen is not to us what Bruce Springsteen is to our parents' generation. So that is a valid, just, you know, it's a generational thing. They went around when he was cool, basically. But there's definitely, and you're absolutely right that he did have a big sort of comeback re-relevancy period where he had like 3 or 4 massive albums in a row post his drug rehab, post Proof dying, all that sort of thing. But the general consensus in
Rest in peace, Proof.
In the hip hop community, I believe at this time, is that some people absolutely do acknowledge him as the greatest of all time. Some people do have issues with his sort of, hey, it's art, man. I say what I say.
Yeah.
I joke about these things.
Like,
and
he goes, you know, I wonder what the old Eminem, this is obviously he raps this, but essentially he says, I wonder what the old Eminem, the old Marshall would think of this. He'd think it's gay.
Yeah.
As in happy.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah, and there's a lot, and I think, you know, one of the criticisms was him wrestling with this idea of being out of touch and out of date on that new album is an antiquated sort of stance, because we're all past that now. And so it's not and now there's a lot of grasping for that same relevancy. Like, I'm going to do these provocational songs, and everyone's like, we don't care now, Eminem. Like, as in, that stuff is not cool to poke at now in this new culture, and therefore you are irrelevant. And so, I mean, I didn't like his new album personally because I thought that, like, it is an interesting concept to wrestle with this idea of your old persona, and quite a cool concept. It's just how you approach it and do it is not done with much depth on the album, I suppose I would say, if I had to be critical. So I didn't much care for the new album. Also, there is another group of people that kind of just like, he's just a rhyming robot. So now he's just, or maybe he's just become a rhyming robot. So he can, his lyricism is, really quite exceptional in many cases. His ability to, do rap god style songs is really amazing, but he just doesn't have anything to say anymore.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things I kind of felt after the Eminem show. I was like, okay, cool. So he's got his first album's about like being nobody. His second album kind of about like
the price of fame.
The price of fame. His third album sort of related to the price of fame, but on a much bigger level. And he's rapping at the government and he's doing all these things.
And it kind of blends the two albums together in a third kind of. Yeah. This is my ultimate hypothesis album of who I am and what I do in the best possible way.
But then he had all these rehab and relapse albums.
Encore, Rehab.
Encore, that's right. Encore was the first one where I was like, he's really just run out of stuff to say now.
Rehab was one of his big comebacks. It was I think it was. Actually,
I wasn't.
I might be confusing Relapse and Rehab, which came first. The first one was the one where he's still coming off drugs.
Yeah.
The next one was kind of like his big sort of comeback and sort of, kind of having new stuff to rap about because Proof had died. He nearly died. He had lots of things to think about and contemplate. There is just always a problem with the rich people is that you live in the bubble long enough. You can either talk about what it was like before you lived in the bubble, but you can't really talk about what it's like to live in the bubble with any relatability because we don't. The normal people, your fans.
Sorry about that, Marshall.
Do not live in that bubble.
About all your money that sucks. It sounds shit, bro.
There is obviously there's that sentiment of like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
That never having to worry or work a day in your life again is so upsetting to you. Yeah. It must be such a battle each day when the regular person, especially in Detroit, obviously where he comes from. A city that has always been sort of beset with socioeconomic problems and like sort of essentially a lot of people out of work and a lot of people struggling in shitty jobs, all of those things. Obviously that is where he came from. That is who he was. He is definitely not that guy now. And, he said he did have some interesting interviews, which I think sort of is reflective. It's like, the money may not have changed him, but obviously the circumstances around the money and what's that meant has changed his environment, and therefore he cannot remain in that. But he sort of was like, I don't know how much money I have in the bank. I don't know anything. I just I just asked my accountant if I can afford to buy things sometimes, and not that often. And a lot of them are like, he would consider extravagant, but relative to his wealth is not extravagant at all. Can I afford to get some new sneakers this week? I really like these new sneakers. I'd like to get them. Is that cool? Yep, it should be fine, Marshall.
Should be fine.
Should be all good, mate.
Should be all good.
Go ahead. So, and he doesn't care about that stuff, which is cool. I think that is like why worry about something that now no longer is a problem for you? I don't think like there's no need for him to build additional wealth or do anything specific with making more money. So don't dwell on it. Just do what you do and have fun. Good on you. But yes. So anyway, but you subverted those lyrics.
I did.
To reference NMN
Yeah.
which is a type of supplement for old people.
Correct. That is what I did, which actually kind of fits with the whole conversation about
It's
Eminem.
true, because
Did that on purpose.
if there was anyone taking NMN right now, it might be Marshall Mathers.
Yeah.
So obviously you've got some NMN updates.
Yeah. Well, so I decided, without doing really my due diligence, without really doing the deep diving research I should do, I have tried NMN. This, essentially it's a supplement mix. And one of the things within that supplement mix is NMN, which supposedly has these anti-aging properties. And if all the bots on the internet, if all the bot reviews on the internet are to be believed, it's
all the UCG
good.
content that you're being fed, and I'm being fed too, because as a man over 40, this is exactly the type of thing.
UCG?
User. Was it? Sorry, UGC.
User generated content.
Yeah.
Yeah. From all these people who obviously get a cut if somebody buys something.
Yeah. It may purely just be an ad.
Yeah.
Like as in they were paid to do the ad.
Yeah.
They're just pretending that they're customers.
Yeah.
In fact, we had
it's
someone.
Not just that, it's also all the comments are all like,
yes.
Oh my God, this is amazing, from all the bots as well. Dead internet. It's all just bots out there now.
Well, we had actually.
Us. The Guy and Harley podcast, the only place that's real on the internet.
We had a UGC specialist come in to the podcast to do an interview, not, for one of our clients. And who, young guy, 21, 22, something like that.
Yeah.
And it was pretty funny because essentially what, he was like, UGC is cool, UGC is awesome, I do UGC, these are some of the big UGCs I've done. And the host was like, well, can you explain UGC? Like, can you just break it down? Like, what is, for those who don't? Because actually, and again, New Zealand is very far behind the rest of the world in many things. Like, just things come to us later. We adopt them later. So UGC content is a good example of this. Like, yes, it exists. New Zealanders do it, but there's actually not that many. Whereas obviously in the States, on TikTok, if you look anywhere, the market is flooded with this type of ad. In fact, some people say that this trend in advertising is already over. But here it hasn't even started yet. Yeah. Although it has, but like it's more Australia content that we're getting now.
Yeah.
We're actually not, and this guy is at the forefront of all of this.
The brand I bought is an Australian brand.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
And this guy's at the forefront of all this.
They're like Australia, New Zealand, same shit.
Which was funny, but because what he didn't ever explain what it was, because he couldn't ever explain what it was, because in explaining it, he would be explaining how full of shit it is. Like, as in, well, I fake pretend to be someone who, but I'm not that person.
Yeah. And
I'm being paid by the company to pretend that I'm that person. He never said that, but obviously that is what you do. Like if you do user-generated content, essentially what you do, it's often like an ad and it's like filmed on your cell phone, kind of very lo-fi, and it's like, I just drank the newest hazies, gave me so much more energy and felt so much lighter. Tired of those things, but after this, I went up and did a run. Felt amazing. I actually had 6, woke up the next day, didn't feel a thing. Like this is my UGC ad for the hazy light thing. And so they're for anything, right? They could be for a toothbrush. They could be for anything, but they fundamentally rely. Or they did, and this is why it can really only be a phase until everyone sort of understands what it is.
So you're doing your bit here,
but like
inform the listeners.
As soon as you understand that that's what you're seeing, that it's not just because essentially what you're suggesting is basically this reviewer was just so stoked on this thing that they decided to record this ad about it for no reason, just to help other people in the world with whatever it is that they're talking about. And so what people like about that is it seems real.
Yeah. Well, exactly. It's the micro-influencer vibe.
Yeah, it is. And it seems like, okay, this person is speaking directly to me and I can trust this, ironically, I can trust this way more than a a normal, a regular advertisement where I'm seeing all these beautiful people and all this fake bullshit.
Although they are usually beautiful people.
Well,
too.
they are. I would say I actually
I
recommend.
ain't gonna buy shit from a fatty.
I would
Not
say
gonna happen.
I would say I've seen a lot of regular looking.
You want my money? You better be good looking.
I've seen a lot of regular looking UGCers.
Yeah.
And
Maybe
anyway,
I've just got lower standards than you.
maybe. Yeah, maybe. But you know, that's kind of the point, is that it's just a regular person talking about something that you might be interested in, and that's what sells it to you.
Yeah.
And anyway, he could never actually say like, but the trick is,
Yeah.
I'm being paid.
Yeah.
That's not real. None of it is real. He was just kind of like, yeah, I work with these brands and I help show them what the content is and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I do these things. They're normally on my phone. He said everything but what he actually does.
Yeah.
Because to say what he actually does
Gives away the game.
is not helpful for him.
Yeah.
Despite coming on the podcast to talk about what he does
Yeah.
and UGC content as a whole.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of quietly chuckling in the corner, like,
Yeah.
well, okay, mate, good
Yeah.
on you. But I follow him now, so
He won, I guess.
I'm
guess he
keen to
won.
what he see. Well, I also had to laugh because he was sort of like, again, it's sort of like where you like, you know, this is age related perhaps, but it's also like what you consider hard work. Because he's like, hey, you know, I'm editing these like. These take like 3-4 hours to edit. And I was like, oh, bless.
Yeah.
4 hours to edit?
Yeah.
How about 30 hours over a week to edit something?
Yeah.
How about 7 years to edit something?
Yeah.
Like, you know, the idea that that's a lot of editing for the sort of the output and what you receive is hilarious and could only be viewed as someone who's only ever done little 3 or 4 hour edits.
Yeah.
And it's like, whew, God, I'm beat. Oh, CapCut killing me. CapCut is killing me right now.
Yeah.
Oh, God, CapCut. Oh, 3 hours. Oh, vertical. Oh, my little tripod. My tripod. Oh, it tilted sideways for half of that. I've got to do it again. This is a nightmare.
Well,
this is going to take me 5 hours.
You don't even need to do it again. You just use it because it's meant to be lo-fi. So it's all good anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, if anybody would like to buy some NMN, just use the link. No, we don't have a link. But this could be an ad. This could be
it could be an ad.
user-generated
This is
content
UGC for depending on what you're about to say now.
Well, actually, so I bought it, right? I've tried it. It's just a drink you drink every morning, a bunch of B vitamins and other things like that in there. And I think overall, I don't think it's a placebo, but I do think I feel feel pretty good, feel better, I think.
It's meant to help with like mental alertness, clarity, energy levels, like.
And generally, it's not supposed to be like, oh my gosh, my skin looks so amazing. Although it does have things in it that's supposedly good for your skin. But it's more like internally and how your energy levels are and that type of thing. So the one I'm trying is one called Age Mate. And yeah, so
I literally get
the ads for Age Mate.
Well, yes, absolutely. But I would say almost every time I'm on, I suppose it must be Instagram. It must be Instagram. As I'm getting fed that ad.
Yeah.
And
which one, Age Mate or Nootropics?
Both.
All of them.
Both.
Yeah. Well, the Age Mate, so I tried it. And I do think it's good. I'm going to continue having it.
Spending $70 per.
It's $99 per month as a subscription.
Okay, yeah, that's not cheap.
Yeah, so that's $25 a week. It depends if it works. If it works, it's cheap. If it doesn't work, it's a fucking ripoff.
Oh, looking for the Alexa of youth, aren't we?
Well, now that I'm 42, no, but it's like a cross between. So what I'd describe it as is it's like a cross between the movies Limitless and Benjamin Button. Okay.
That's how they should be selling it, isn't
it? That's the ad. I just made the fucking ad for
you go.
Clip this out. We've got
Limitless, Benjamin Button. Converge, Age Mate.
Yeah.
Need I say more?
I need to make one of these ads and just put that out there. I might make some fucking money.
Well, that Aussie guy is kind of hilarious. That's the spokesman for it.
Oh, I don't think I've watched his ad. I actually came about it through what's his name? Gusterman, fucking Huberman.
Oh yeah,
Joe Rogan
Andrew
and, like,
Huberman.
Andrew Huberman and Joe Rogan and then
Biohacking. So Harley has started biohacking.
I've started biohacking. Yeah, and and then
although this is problematic. This is very problematic.
This beer is unhacking everything.
Exactly. This is actually they're talking more and more now about this being very problematic.
Very bad, yeah.
Very, very bad.
Yeah, well, I'll work on that. It's dry July soon, so that'll be a month off.
Yeah.
So my body will appreciate that. We better give a quick shout out to our 2 viewers. Actually, we've got more than 2, but we got Kiwi Jezza, who's shouted out on
the man
himself.
Comments,
the man himself.
Who sent me, sent me that Batman, comic of the first Batman movie, the Batman adaptation of the movie as a graphic novel.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Is it good? Good stuff?
It's amazing, but it's just so strange, like, obviously, again, this is all this podcast is going to be now. It's probably actually going to be very boring. But
about what? What are you going to say?
Well, just sort of like, hey, what is it like getting old now? Hey, what's getting old like? Hey, isn't it crazy getting old? Getting old's crazy.
Well, it's a bit like,
man, great.
Like Limp Bizkit, right? They put out their new album. And it's all about getting old, and it's like all these rockers who make a comeback, and it's like the lyrics.
Blink-182, obviously.
Blink-182.
Eminem hasn't done one about getting old yet.
No, not really about getting old, but it's more about. I thought his new album was like about kind of, getting old.
Okay, I didn't really.
Not like my back hurts getting old, but like it's not being relevant and.
Yeah, well, I guess he's wrestled with that for a long time though, Eminem, because essentially, when you are at the sort of cultural zeitgeist for several moments in time, when you are no longer, you kind of look around going, "Hang on, motherfuckers. What happened?
I just dropped an F-bomb. You should.
I just dropped an album at least.
Yeah.
You should care, because once upon a time, that's all you cared about. That's all you could talk about. And I think there's some good examples actually, because he did Mosh, which was that George Bush one, but he did a way more recent one about Trump, which is a really great track. And no one gave a fuck. And I just think that, like, in that generation before, that would have been like Eminem's son's Donald Trump on scathing new track. And, like, yes, that was a headline in one website somewhere, I'm sure. But, like, basically, he dropped it right before, I believe, the 2016 election, I think. And he was like, this is my stance. It was a great track. Nobody, not a single person in the whole world was like, sweet. Whereas one that would have been something that we all kind of championed and went with. And unfortunately, because it was a great message. He's right.
Yeah.
Trump is not good. Trump is horrible.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a shit about black people. He is probably actively racist. These are all true things that can be sort of proven by his behavior. And this is the stuff that he was talking about. And it was like, all right, Eminem, I'm hearing a lot of this over here.
Yeah.
Get on. Can you do another collab with Rihanna? Please.
Well, we've also got to shout out Tyler Adams on the live stream as well.
Yeah,
so shout out to Tyler. So both Tyler and Jezza both said basically the same thing, which is I haven't seen you guys for ages. It's good to see you back. So thanks for coming back, guys. We do it all for you. The Sifty 150. And so it has been, we haven't spoken since the last episode. So there must be a million things to talk about. I got some good news yesterday. My ad is rolling over. An ad that I'm in is rolling over.
This is the best news in the world. It is money for
Free
nothing.
Money for work I did more than a year ago for an ad that's just going to play it for another 12 months, and I just get 100% of the fee again. Fucking beauty. Living the dream. And then there's another little ad which has come out now. I'm not sure if you saw it, the snowboarding,
I did.
Cadrona one.
When you're crying in pain.
Yeah, I'm crying because I have to leave. Yeah, in despair because I have to leave the Cadrona ski resort, and my kids are like embarrassed and they're like, "Dad, what are you doing?" So it turned out good. It's a good ad. I quite like it. We filmed a whole bunch of snowboarding, which was awesome because it's the first time I've been snowboarding in like more than 15 years or something like that. And I was loving it, having a great old time. The kids still got it. But they cut it all. None of the snowboarding.
Of
no
you
skiing.
actually snowboarding?
Yeah,
was
well,
none
of
there,
me, but also of the kids as well. Like there was meant to be like kind of like a boarding montage of people having fun, but all that got cut out. Now it's just like people kind of crying when they have to leave.
I got a question.
Yeah.
When you were doing that snowboarding,
Yeah.
did they film you static, like locked off on a long lens as you just came up and down the hill, or did they actually have someone like on a snowboard with the camera going?
That's what they had. They had a guy skiing beside me, so they had to hire a special guy for that. Because I was talking to, coincidentally, on related to another project, I was talking to one of the guys from the production company, and he was saying, it was a kind of a shit because they had to hire that extra dude who's a camera op who can ski,
and film at the same time,
and film and do a good job. So that none of that's cheap, and they had to get this guy in specifically to get this stuff. And then it was decided that it all was to go on the cutting room floor. But that's often the way it goes.
It is the way it goes.
It's often the way it goes.
The thing that you put the most effort into in filming, and that was the hardest to do and pull off, you realize is no longer necessary in the edit. Well, it's just the way it is.
If we had not done that, it would have been, for me, it would have been like probably a 2-hour shoot, something like that, to get the stuff they needed for me, maybe less. But actually I was there all day, but that's right. I was having fun.
But in saying that, I mean, you were there, so, you may as well do it.
Yeah, I went.
You traveled all the way down to the South Island. It wasn't like you drove in your car to a place where you're going to do an ad. It's like you were flown down to Queenstown.
Yeah.
Put up in a hotel, presumably.
It was actually an Airbnb.
Fine.
But yeah.
As long as that's nice. And then made to do that. So if you didn't do that, it's not like you could just go home.
No.
You still got to wait for your flight.
It's true. Well, actually, no, because I rented a car and I was going to Dunedin afterwards. So when I finished, I then went on like a holiday. So I could have gone on holiday 8 hours earlier is what I'm saying.
There we go.
But no, anyway, it was good fun.
Oh, did you ask my favorite question? Did you ask the person what they were filming on?
I feel like I actually took a picture of the camera for you, as I often do. I'll take a picture of the camera
as a reference. Well, if it is that, then and you send it to me, I think it was an Ari Alexa, but I could be wrong.
I think you're right. I think we had that conversation.
Yeah. If it was the one that you, I think, most recently sent to me, it was an Ari Alexa.
It probably was then. I think it was.
Which
I did ask him.
Does beg the question, because they're quite big cameras, how they stripped it down for the skiing guy to use.
I don't know what the skiing guy had.
He had a different camera.
So there was two. There was the DP, and then there was the guy who was doing, the snowboarding with me.
It would make way more sense if that guy had a different camera.
He didn't have like anything
like a big like if he had something quite small.
Yeah, would have been.
Then that makes way more sense.
Yeah, what's a RE35? Is that a good one?
Oh yeah, that's I said Ari Alexa. I mean, there's a few different versions of all of them, and actually I botch the names all the time. But the RE35 is the most recent camera by Ari, so it's their most. Okay. And what it's super great at is that it's dynamic range latitude. So like where your highlights clip, so where things get too bright, it has this insane amount of dynamic range. So where other cameras would be like, that's blown out, we can't see anything back there. For the RE35, it's like we can see everything. This is better than, because again, this is the battle that all these cameras is like, we are trying to create, maybe not so much now, but we're trying to emulate film. And film has a lot of dynamic range, which means that if you blast, light at it, it holds up. That's why you will have all these lights smashing onto actors' faces and they look great. Whereas now, if you do that, they look super overexposed. It's the dynamic range of film, and so the Alexa 35 has more dynamic range than true film stock. All right. And so essentially the idea is that obviously that gives you way more options in terms of the way that you film. Like for instance, if that was the RE35 that they filmed on,
no, they didn't. This is a new project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But say they'd done it it would be perfect for the snowboarding one because it's all white, which is an absolute nightmare because everything is white and reflective, and if the sun is out, it's like the worst possible thing. RE35 would have done it like that, no dramas.
Yeah,
but you didn't use the RE35.
Not for that one. It was it was the other one that I said. That you said.
The maybe the Alexa Mini or Alexa Mini.
Tyler Adams says it's like 17 stops
of dynamic range.
I'm working on Alexa 35 footage right now as he listens.
That was a spoiled little bastard.
Yeah, so good on him. Good on. Well, speaking of the RE35, I might have a new project coming up, which is it's quite a big opportunity. It's producing the New Zealand leg of a Malaysian feature film. So, and what they want to do is they want to shoot a big finale rally racing scene. And they've got $150,000 and they want to film and they're going to film on the RE35 and they want to film in around Central Otago and stuff, which is also why I was talking to that guy from the ad, which was filmed in Central Otago. And so, so that's the new big potential opportunity, but I haven't locked it in. Like, they've offered me the position and I've sent them a contract / requested a contract from them. And that's where we're at. Because what I don't want is a repeat of something that happened last year, which was we were supposed to have $100,000 to shoot a TikTok series. And then we put in all this pre-production and all this work and all this fucking location scouting and auditions and everything. And the money just never showed up. And then eventually it all fell over. And it was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, that was a complete waste of fucking 6 weeks or something, which it wasn't actually the 6 weeks that bothered me. It wasn't even all the work that bothered me. What bothered me was looking like an asshole in front of all the people that I had asked for favors and quotes and people that I'd essentially just wasted a bunch of their time because then the project fell over. So I want to avoid that this time. I'm making sure that I've got this contract on lock and some money in my bank before I really commit. So that's about where we're at. But all going well, could be a big opportunity for me to produce a relatively big scene down in Central Otago at the end of this year.
Sounds like a pretty sweet gig.
Yeah, could be cool.
I mean, I will say though that like it's actually just incredibly common for everything to fall over and the money not to come through.
Yeah, of course. But
so like, you know, when you say like, oh, I had to look like an asshole, it's like, well, you just had to look like a producer.
Yeah.
A producer in his regular habitat of the money just didn't quite come through.
Yeah.
We couldn't quite get it over the line. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Better luck next time.
Well,
everything fell over. I mean, like, to be honest, you're lucky it fell over when it did,
rather than owing people money.
Oh, you could have been in the middle of filming it, and it could have just never come that money.
Right. Well, I just didn't want to end up owing people money as well, so we had to kind of pull the plug on it before it reached the stage where people had actually done work for us.
That's right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, to be honest, nobody was really pissed off. Like you said, it's very common. Even like all the agents and all that, they had to go back and forth with me for the auditions and all that. They were like, "Oh well, that's showbiz," and moved on.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, that's the first time I've wasted the time of the agents, because all the other times, whatever I'm producing is at least
actually
been made,
gone through.
You know, so I'm not like completely wasting their time. But yes. Anyway, so that's the RE35 related news. But they're talking about bringing their own one over. But they're open to the idea of renting it here if required. But they've got their own DP, so our mate Isaac, who won't be getting
He's out of luck.
He might, unless he wants to take on like a support role. You know, there might be like an assistant type role. There's some work like that going.
He'll take it
when it comes to it.
He'll take the gaffer work. We'll do the gaff. We'll do the gaffing work for it.
Yeah.
So, like, can you talk anything more about this big scene or what it entails?
Well, I haven't signed an NDA. But I also haven't signed a contract, so but also they're not watching the show. Nobody is watching the show.
They're definitely not.
So what would you like to know?
I mean, you know, you say a big scene in Central Otago.
Yeah.
What big scene?
So it's a racing movie, right? It's about car racing, rally racing.
So it's a rally scene.
It's a rally scene where it's like set over 10 different stages of a race, of a tournament. And so you want like lots of different looking landscapes. So they want something coastal, something or maybe like by a lake, for example, something by a mountain, something, you know, in the bush, something in the desert, you know, whatever. and they want to sort of film a bunch of different ones that are kind of hopefully in an area that relatively close to each other. So that's why I suggested Central Otago. I was like, this is the place you want if you want majestic peaks and like waterfronts and like rally tracks and like different landscapes that are drivable from each other. Probably Central Otago. That's the place to go. Be a lot easier for me if it was in Auckland, because obviously I know people up here, or more people up here than down there.
Yeah, it's going to be an expensive shoot for sure.
Totally, yeah, because it's like you got. They're not doing stunts, but they do want to have some, cars driving fast on a rally road at some point, So it's like you're going to need specialized drivers for that. But the other thing too is that it's a period piece. It's set in a specific couple of years. So in terms of cars, you've got to have the appropriate cars. You can't be if it's set in 2002, you can't be rolling up in the 2024 Evo.
Yeah, I think obviously the tricky part, obviously apart from bringing all those things together in the place where you don't work or have any connections or only have a few connections, is essentially how you film that with the Alexa 35, like as in you have to have a separate car or a car with a crane, with a car mount, with a dolly jib thing on it, to film the cars drive, or the car or cars driving. And then obviously you can't just have a car like driving about the roads with this massive fucking techno crane on it, and a massive camera. Like, you probably have to shut down that section of road while you do the scene. Yeah,
there's definitely going to be a bunch of scary, like, logistical and health and safety type things that I'll need to worry about. I won't have to worry too much, I don't think, about the car rig specifically and that type of stuff. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how they want to do that. I think there's going to be some dronage. We'll be doing drones. That'll be part of it.
Drones in some ways make it easier.
Totally, right? Because you can follow along the car, from above, which would probably get some quite cool shots. Although those shots, if it's trying to be authentic to like early 2000s rally coverage, those shots wouldn't exist. But the helicopter shots, I guess you could be like, it's the helicopter. There was a helicopter there. They do have helicopters.
That's true.
Actually, no, it's probably fine. It's probably totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully that all comes together. Hopefully it all works. Like I said, I've sent them a contract and my fees and said, like, let's do this. But I don't really know. Maybe I asked for too much money or not enough money. They're like, this guy's asked for nothing. He's a bum. He's an amateur. Don't know. So that was just yesterday. I sent them to them yesterday. So
I guess it depends how much you ask for.
Yeah.
Of that budget.
Yeah, 1 million. No.
That they're gonna.
Yeah.
Not want to be spending on. Who knows? Who knows what they're going to be? What? But interesting. Cool.
Yeah. Well, ChatGPT says that 10% is not an unreasonable amount to ask for, but the thing is, I wouldn't ask for 10% of 10,000 USD. 150,000 USD.
Nah.
Yeah.
Nah, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah. But maybe 10% of 150,000 New Zealand dollars.
Yeah. Maybe.
So that would be 15 grand for 6 or 8 months of work.
Yeah. I guess it's valid.
It's not that much money, really. I mean, over that time period and the amount of work. So let's see what they say. Anyway, let's see what they say. So what else we got here? I applied for a whole bunch of things. I just want to quickly tell you about this. Okay. The producer travel application to travel to Hong Kong. I applied for that. I was hoping to get that. Didn't get it. Okay. I thought I had a new job working from home, streaming rugby. It was like this quite cruisy gig.
You tell me about that.
Streaming rugby. Yep. In the bag, I thought. I did the interview, fucking nailed it. I was like, in the bag. Didn't get it. She who shall be named, my girlfriend. She was on the short list for Day One Shorts, which is a short film funding body here, and she was on the short list. Pretty exciting. Might get money to produce a short. Didn't get it. Shortland Street had me on the short list again. They were considering rebranding to Short Bald Street. Update. Didn't get it.
Time is ticking on that one.
Yep, time's ticking. So we reckon. So
the rumors of Shortland Street have not been greatly exaggerated.
Well, have you heard
their ratings decline has definitely not been greatly exaggerated. their ratings death has not been greatly exaggerated.
I haven't been following it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I know a bit, but essentially what I know is that, like,
because we heard like July, August or something would be like the end if it's gonna.
But it's still going so far, sort of. But that, like, I know from certain crew members that they've basically said to them, like,
Shortland Street being New Zealand's premier soap opera,
like
running for like 30 years,
but also that they've also even now as they run, they've downsized to a point that is somewhat abusive to the staff who create the show, relative to previous TV standards, previous TV making standards in New Zealand. Now, all these standards are going to get thrown out. I'm 100%. Mark my words, Guy Pigden said it on this day in 2025 that, like, the whole industry wide, I'm not just talking about TV, I'm talking about film, I'm talking about everything, is like everyone's going to be readjusting their rates in one way or another. And I already know people, and I've sort of talked to people that are essentially director of photographies doing videography work. Yeah. That they would have never once done. Like, once they would have laughed at that work.
Like that dude that laughed and when I offered him $500 to go to the hospital and film an interview. This was a few months ago. I got $500 to go and film an interview at the hospital.
Piece of piss.
And he's like, well, actually, normally I get several $1,000s per day. Yeah. I was like, fuck you.
Yeah. And that's exactly that sort of mindset is all going to change. And, like, that's the problem, though, because, for instance, if a director of photography is doing a videographer's job, then what the fuck is the videographer doing? Because he is now outclassed by this, and outranked
and outgeared.
Yeah, outgunned by this director of photography. So, and this is already happening. Yeah. And, like, obviously we know that the film industry climate in America is not good at all. I see posts about it all the time of, like,
Trump and his weird new tariffs.
Not work. Like, I'm not work. I used to be working for 25 years. I've now hadn't had work in 6 months to a year. Obviously, it's still very hard to film in LA. Everyone's sort of relying on the streamers, but the streamers are, a lot of them are cutting back on how much they're funding because they're just throwing money into an imaginary, like, there's no making back money of anything. No one makes back money on anything,
apart from user generated content.
Well, look, there's new models. There's no doubt there's new models. There's a whole new world of new models, but they're all kind of like the Spotify method, which is sort of like the Spotify method being,
pay the creators.
You get streamed.
Cent.
You have millions of streams of your thing, and you've got paid a few cents for that. Yeah. But hey, exposure. Exposure's great. You got millions of people are listening to your music.
Well, it's kind of true, because if they then direct people to their website and their subscription system and their merch and their all that shit, then it can, obviously it's still an advantage, but you're being taken advantage of.
Well, I spoke to a friend of the show, Liam Hegarty, who works in this space.
Shout out, Liam.
Hegables drunk me under the table when I went over there to Melbourne. But absolutely. Yeah. He was laughing.
Shout out Vedat on the live stream as well.
Vedat, hello, Vedat.
He says it's a race to the bottom. The race to the bottom has finished.
Yeah.
Now it's a brawl.
Yeah, he's just not wrong at all. And, like, obviously, AI is coming for us all, but...
Oh, AI, what a blessing.
AI is coming...
It's so good for applications and stuff.
I mean, it is very good for applications if...
I'm paying for premium.
If you can model your application so that it does not sound like the AI that everyone else has used in their application.
But here's where it's good, right? Is like for generating a document, like you say, I need a budget, or I need this, I need a template. And it's like normally you'd have to go and find that appropriate template or make it or whatever. But you kind of just go, hey, I need a template. This is the purpose of the template. This is the type of the categories and the columns I need. Can you please give this to me as an Excel sheet or whatever it is you need? And it just goes, sure, here you go.
Yeah, I mean, shortcutting stuff like that is sort of actually fine. It's not really, but it's more, and like, I mean, just a story off the top of my head. So, and we're talking about applications. So there was recently an application for the screenwriting, or the Writers Guild seed grant, right? And we had been writing a new script and a new draft of New Followers, and we were like, when's that seed thing we were going to apply for due? When's that due? Oh, Friday.
Good.
Oh, it's Monday.
Yeah.
So there is no possible way we can essentially do all the things that need to be done. ChatGPT would say otherwise.
Yeah.
And so this was my first introduction to ChatGPT 4.0.
Yeah.
The Pro, ChatGPT Pro, that you can actually pay for a higher. There's now 4.5.
Yeah, but it's like literally like 10 times the price.
Yeah, well, it's like, do you want to have a conversation with Albert Einstein or fucking Elon Musk?
I'd be happy either way. But if Elon Musk was $30 and Einstein was $300,
yeah, well, look,
because that's what that's the price, per month, right?
I don't know about the 4.5.
I just signed up for the Pro because I needed it. And I got...
You needed it for all the cheating you can do on the applications.
No, for summarizing my ideas and condensing them.
No, look, and
that's the thing about it, right?
It's like very good for that type of thing.
If you're not good at the right prompts and if you don't have the information that you need, it can't help you. Well, no, it can help you get information, definitely. But like, you've still got to control it and tell it what you're actually trying to create. And they are your words. They've just been put through this filter where it's then fixed up all your commas and, changed words that are wrong and restructured it and blah, blah, blah. And then you read over it and you go, okay, cool. Change this, edit this, remove that, but whatever, I don't like this, and it's essentially just takes something which used to take multiple revisions and thinking and reading and rereading and going over it again and changing things. It's taken it down to, like a few, just way quicker, 10% of the time.
Yeah, like I estimated that the time to sort of create that, the treatment and script and everything for that application in the past would have been about 3 weeks. And it took us 4 days.
Exactly.
Now, I'm not saying that was our best application.
No.
I don't really know. I feel good about the story and everything, but I don't know. But I guess what was insane to me was the workflow. So the workflow for me was I talked into my phone the whole story, the whole treatment. I just talked, and then I would go, add paragraph, da-da-da-da-da, and this happens and that happens, add paragraph, da-da-da-da-da. So I did all that. It voiced to text into my Notes app. Then I used the Notes app AI to punctuate it because it doesn't obviously punctuate your text when you're just talking into it. So then it punctuated that. Then I fed that into ChatGPT and I was like, cool, now tidy this up to become like the treatment. So it was just rewrote everything to make it not a verbal diarrhea that I had spat out into my phone, copy and pasted directly into the thing, and then it fed me back the treatment, which is a very readable, incredibly. Exactly. But what's disturbing is that, and I didn't utilize this at all, but what's disturbing is it was like, hey, want me to write a few scenes for you? And I was like, sure, ChatGPT, write me a few scenes, you dumb piece of shit.
You're like, good luck. You can't do what I do.
You fucking bozo. What are you going to shit out of your dumb head?
Yeah.
Right? And what it came up with, like the scenes that it wrote, I was like, wow, that's better than my writing. That is better than my writing. Now, it had my writing as its base.
Reference, yeah.
But that is probably better than how I would write it. It's not how I would write it, as in it's not the scene I would have written, but it's completely comparable. So that is problematic.
Yeah, well, because everyone's out of a job now.
That is problematic.
Right?
Well, if a writer of 20 years can look at a scene that ChatGPT has written and say, okay, like, that's as good, if not better, as I would write it. I'm a writer of 20 years. I have now nothing to offer because ChatGPT can do it.
Yeah.
Better than me.
You would probably still be required to kind of like supervise, kind of like give the overarching support
Absolutely.
and kind of put the scenes and maybe move them around a little bit. But even all of that stuff, ChatGPT could do. You know, you go, hey, look, I want you to reorder the scenes in the context of this, and maybe in a similar type of way to this movie. You know, here's a reference movie, and here, you know, and it'll go, okay, sure, and then you've done it.
Well, this is the thing, and like, you know, what you can't compete with ChatGPT now is that ChatGPT has ingested every movie, ever, and kept it in its computer brain, right?
Yeah.
I've ingested thousands of movies. I haven't kept them all in my brain, nor could I. And I do not have that data point reference every time I start a sentence, I start a scene, I write a piece of dialogue. But ChatGPT does. So ChatGPT is pulling from literally every single Oscar-winning script that has ever been printed onto the internet, and I'm not. So even if it's just re-referencing and then mushing together the greatest Oscar-winning scripts of all time, well, I ain't doing that. Now, you could say, but it'll just be like a pastiche of those scenes.
Those things,
But that is what art is that the art is fed into the human's head, other art you respect and admire and love, then it's filtered through your brain, becomes a pastiche and is spat back out with hopefully your original spin and thoughts on it. I'm not really sure now that we can say, oh, well, ChatGPT doesn't have the original bit. Or maybe a better way to put it is, it doesn't matter if it doesn't have that original filter, because we as humans cannot put in place the filters to understand the pastiche it is made, because it is too great from too many different sources. Therefore, it's irrelevant whether it's filtered through its sort of original concept. And also, if you consider, for instance, storytelling being sort of like 1,000 years, hundreds of thousands of years old, us telling the same stories, us resonating with the same things, if it spits out a pastiche of the best stories ever told that we've told for thousands or hundreds of thousands of years, that's going to seem pretty good to us. We're not going to be like, so I saw you ripping off Shakespeare there a little bit, a couple of lines. Or if you did, you'd go, brilliant, the Bard. Making reference to the Bard.
It's a nod.
Just as I would do as
a
big Shakespeare fan. So then it becomes imperceptible, that human filter, because we can't mark all the things. Like, you know, we could say, okay, ChatGPT, which Oscar-winning movies did you reference to make this? And another sort of a thought experiment, I was like, cool, okay, you've written some better scenes than I could write. You've helped me write this treatment, or, you know, and it is all my work. Like, it didn't add anything. It just wrote it in such a way that was readable. That was not me going. And then the wrestler has a knee injury, you know, and it writes something like, Morris's knee aches as he, hops out of bed or something, so it kind of fixes. Anyway, so I then said, okay, here's the concept. I just refed it the concept, but in a new ChatGPT. Here's the premise. This was my premise for the film. Now you write me a treatment for that, like just your version, not my version. And I compared the two, and I was like, okay, my treatment is slightly better than this treatment, but this treatment is like, there is just a couple of unique aspects of this treatment. This treatment is a wrestling movie, so like, again, you have to be a wrestler. Like, that's the only thing that I had on ChatGPT.
Was that you?
Is that I'm an actual wrestler. Living in that world, having experienced wrestling, so I can therefore speak to it from a very sort of authentic place. Whereas it can only reference Rocky and the greatest sports movies of all time. There are obviously going to be many similarities. This is the Rocky of wrestling.
Your personal experience is something that it can't
Yeah,
get.
that's the only thing it can't do. So, when I read it, I was like, oh, thank God it is. Like, because I was also worried, obviously, it talks about like, I don't remember anything you tell me unless you tell me to.
You're right.
And it's like, okay, let's put that to the test. So essentially I've given it this information for the story. Now, if I ask you to recreate the story, will you recreate exactly the information I already gave you?
Yeah.
And it didn't.
Yeah.
So we're all in hell.
We're all in hell.
If we're artists, we're all in hell.
Yeah.
Because there's something I wanted to sort of make a YouTube video about, but obviously I'm sure you've seen it, but like the new image generation ability. And
it's gone like in a matter of like 6 to 12 months or something. It's gone from being like all shitty looking with multiple fingers and doing all this stuff to being this really amazing like footage, which looks very authentic with good lighting and even like they've got like. They're acting. They've got dialogue and they're talking.
Oh well, now that was the latest release. The latest release is the AI movie scenes are now which is the one thing it couldn't do. Is sound effects and talking. This came out yesterday or the day before. So essentially now you're seeing scenes between virtual actors actually having a conversation just like this.
And they look good. The thing is, you can always. I can still tell at with only a brief glance. Looking at most AI, I can still tell. I'm like, I can see that looks AI. She looks too perfect. The wrinkles on her face are too perfect. The light is like too even, whatever it is. There's still something. Can't quite put my finger on exactly what, but there's still something missing. And you can generally tell. But the thing is that it's been 12 months.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How
imagine
like
10 years.
How many generations are we away of like we're looking really hard and we go, oh, I think I'm pretty sure that's AI. If that's what we're doing now,
well, it's time that we
give it 6 months.
No, we tell the audience the truth. This is an AI generated podcast. Everything you're looking at right now is AI generated. We're actually not even here. Harley's at the supermarket, and Guy's writing.
Well, look, a very interesting experiment would be to go, cool, ChatGPT, take all the podcasts take all the Guy and Harley podcasts from now. So 200 and however many episodes.
269. This is episode 269.
269 episodes. Take all that. And the only thing that ChatGPT is not good at now is actually when it fucks out. Or I've found a few instances where it kind of totally fucks out. But like it fucks out when you give it too much at once. Yeah. That's when it falls over.
Right.
And it will do lots of things to pretend that it's doing the thing that you asked it to do, but it can't.
Yeah.
And you really have to drill it to be like, just ChatGPT, just tell me, bro. Is this too much for you?
Yeah.
You're right to call me out on that one.
Yeah.
I actually could not process all of that at once.
Yeah.
Or it won't even say that, but it'll be like, I'm trying to do this in separate bits of information because And thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling me out.
Yeah.
So there's definitely, you can see where it kind of, and also like my friend Will said this, it's the ultimate shortcut artist. So the whole problem with ChatGPT, one of the many problems, I mean, the decline of civilization, where do you want to start? But one of the big problems with ChatGPT now is how much power it consumes.
Yeah.
How the environmental impact of ChatGPT is actually now maybe the biggest threat to the Earth.
Yeah.
ChatGPT's energy consumption may ultimately be the biggest threat to human existence in terms of like climate change and devastation through its energy consumption.
Yeah.
So they've put safeguards in place with ChatGPT, which is that ChatGPT is very lazy. So what that means is that essentially whatever you ask it, it's looking for the quickest answer that expends the least amount of data energy.
Mm-hmm.
Because the more data energy, the more problems we get with global warming and stuff, and the more cost for ChatGPT to run. Like even though it's now like very like it's already, all of these are becoming problems that will kind of expand exponentially over the next year or two as more and more people adopt it, and more people are using it more and more every day, right? So how does ChatGPT mitigate this apart from building new data centers and using all the world's resources to run? Oh, thank God. ChatGPT answered my question, but, my island is gone. But thank God, ChatGPT can tell me why my island is gone.
Well, yeah, you saw that thing where Sam Altman said that the people saying thank you was costing millions of dollars and eating lots of energy.
Yes.
Because it goes, you go thank you, and it replies. And that reply is super
Oh,
expensive.
you're welcome. Happy to help. Is there anything else
I can help
Do you want to
with?
brainstorm a couple of scenes?
Yeah.
So, like, it's not good. Like, all of that is actually really, really, really bad. Like, really, really bad. And it's not talked about that often because obviously...
Well, renewable energy is going to have to be the answer, right? Energy from the sun stored in batteries.
Something is... So there's certainly going to have to be an answer.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be mad if they had to kind of... And it won't happen, obviously, but in some ways, the best outcome will be like, look, the energy consumption of ChatGPT is so detrimental to the environment that we, the collective Earth, have to shut. We have to turn the tap off.
Shut it off.
We just can't use ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we can't do it.
Yeah.
The environmental impact is too great.
Too much. But I think what will really happen
Well, that won't happen, but that's what I would love if you said tomorrow that was happening. I'd be like, sweet. That's actually very good for us.
We'll go back to a pre-GPT existence.
Yeah.
No, I think what will really happen, though, is the technology will advance, the energy cost will come down, our renewable energy, like ability to collect it, will improve. And a lot of that will be powered by AI helping us.
Oh, they absolutely have some great
these
pointers.
Problems out,
No doubt that they will. They will. So yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I was talking more not so much about the video, but the image generation, just pure images. And so like there was this whole Studio Ghibli craze.
Which app should I use to generate a thumbnail for this episode of the Guy and Harley podcast?
Well, ChatGPT will do it,
right?
But they all kind of look the same.
Yeah, I don't mind for this episode. It's because it's relevant.
Well, I mean, look, if you did it, I mean, like what you see now, because obviously that's the other problem with humans, right? Humans are the laziest creature on earth, and so anytime that you present a shortcut to them, well, why wouldn't I take the shortcut? Why am I going to take the long way? Am I going to go the long way to do this? Am I going to learn art to make art? You fucking crazy?
I'll just get ChatGPT.
I've got a computer now.
Yeah.
So, there's lots of problems with that, but the thumbnail thing is like, I see if again.
Oh yeah, you see them all the time.
If you were a casual viewer of YouTube and you weren't deep in the fucking ChatGPT mythology, you just go,
whatever, click.
Cool, click.
Well, like my mum, for example, would. I'm sure she doesn't give a shit. She just clicks on it. It's like, whatever, okay. I don't think she's like, oh, that looks like AI.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not going to watch it.
So there's like, so anyway, what basically happened with the release of ChatGPT is you sort of upload a photo or an image and then it recreates it in any fucking style ever from the history of human artwork. From cartoons to comics.
Cave paintings.
Whatever you want. In one update, it goes, So obviously this sort of destroys a lot of livelihoods.
Oh, yeah.
In a single, like literally, we are witnessing the Thanos Avengers snap over and over again in real time with these updates. Well, hey, did you do this thing before?
Now you don't.
It's gone. ChatGPT does that now. And obviously we haven't sort of quite caught up to that in real time because again, there is also another thing which, we should talk about, which is the digital divide between fucking poor people and rich fucking cunts like us.
Who can afford to pay the ChatGPT subscription.
Well, automatically. Some people can afford to pay that subscription. Some people are doing ChatGPT for free.
Slumming it out there.
The difference between those two models is vast.
Yeah.
It is literally like someone being like, someone being like a professor, a scholar, a specialist in everything in the world, and a guy, a casual Googler who knows a little bit about everything. He has a great resource and knowledge, but he's not a specialist in anything. He can just tell you a little bit about so that's the difference between those two models. So if you pay for that top
the ultimate,
tier,
the big one. What were you paying for the big one?
not the big one, just the chat, the $20 a
that's
month
what I got
or
as
whatever
well.
it is.
But I'm pretty sure that the next one up was like something like 400 or 300, and it was like US dollars.
Yep.
I maybe I'm wrong, but I'm sure that's what I remember. And I was like, what the fuck? That's a ridiculous difference. You must be paying for like a lot. But I just assumed it was the company price, as in essentially it was like, okay, if you want your whole staff using this, get this package. So I didn't get that.
Yeah. No, I don't have.
I am my whole staff.
Oh, yeah, I don't like. And also there's now you actually, like, if you're a business, you can sort of pay for data protection around like it not sort of hypothetically data scraping
from your
inputs.
Yeah, because that's the thing, right? Every time I chat to it, I'm like, you got to be careful. You're like, okay, what information do I really want to give?
You just do not know
this.
It is very
corporation,
like it says,
which is pretending to be my friend.
Yeah, I don't remember anything, but it is very unclear out of those users what data is being collected for the next version of ChatGPT.
And who would know anyway? How the fuck are we going to build
exactly
our digital overlords? But they'll never catch me. They'll never catch me, guy. I'll always be able to do what I do.
Look, there's some pockets of industry that won't be affected, or they'll be affected, but they won't be completely replacing. But look, I'm, like either that's the problem. Like, Vidar in the chat, if he's not running 50 AI audio things rather than listening through 20 times and manually mixing, he's losing. You have to employ these tools to the best of your ability before the tools completely replace you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you are only going to be replaced by those using the tools. But that's the problem, because like I work with students who are just poor kids. And poor kids don't know what ChatGPT is. And rich kids, ChatGPT is their literal best friend. It is like their best friend and confidant. They ask it, hey, before I
talk to Jessica.
Yeah, exactly.
Should I brush my teeth?
Or yeah, like, hey, I really like X. I'm thinking of talking to her. What are some of the topic starters that I could say? ChatGPT. Well, I'm glad you asked, Brian.
Yeah.
Maybe try talking about Jess's thing and complimenting her thing. Like literally that is their life now.
Yeah.
It's like their mate. Hey Harley, I think I want to talk to Mana. What should I say? Well, what does she do? Interior design? Maybe you should bring that up.
Yeah.
So there's like, but the problem is that only rich people have access to this. That means that poor people still don't have access to this, and poor people definitely don't have access to like the better versions of it. And so you're now creating this other class divide of the digital literate and illiterate purely based on whether or not you use ChatGPT. And therefore, like, one person enriching their life through its shortcuts. Like, that's the thing, is like, you as an application writer cannot compete with the application writer. Like, you can, and theoretically you can, in terms of like, if you put in 100 hours and he puts in, or she puts in 2 hours, you could come up with the same thing. And maybe your thing is as good as their thing that they did in 2 hours, but they did it in 2 hours and you didn't. So how is that fair? And so there, I think there's a big problem, because I see it with these kids, is that, even if you think about like, okay, cool, so what's the future look like? Well, I'm just going to be a prompt master. I'm going to be a prompt genius. Absolutely. But if you don't learn how to do that, then you're on basic mode of ChatGPT, asking it basic questions and it's giving you basic responses. Whereas this elite level ChatGPT user is like, oh no, I've got a whole psychological profile that I feed it before I even get one single answer, which bypasses all the dumb responses that it would normally give me that you're getting for your answers to this question that we're both competing for. Big problems. Big problems.
So if there's any poor people listening, be sure to invest
screwed.
in ChatGPT. Just no, like make the
You
money.
want to feed your
forget
family?
food,
Yeah, so you want to
get
feed your family this
ChatGPT.
week? Fucking forget about it.
Forget him.
4.0
No,
will tell you how to get a better job.
exactly. Pay for it and then ask ChatGPT how to feed the whānau.
Yeah.
Right? So it's all good. Pre-ChatGPT, I read a book about AI, and one of its main predictions was that everybody would have their own individual AI, and that basically it would have your psychological profile, and it would have it would know all about you, everything about you, it would know all about you. And then if you're considering starting a business relationship or a romantic relationship or even a friendship, right, your AIs would communicate and essentially go, oh no, this is not going to work. You know, he's a Trump supporter, you know, you're trans, whatever it is, you know, like this is not going to line up. And so, it was one of the earlier predictions that from that. But yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. So you're saying we should upgrade to that $400 one?
Well, it's in our best
if we want to keep up.
It's in our best interests to.
Yeah.
But it's not, again, which class are you in? I'm in the middle class. I can't afford elite level ChatGPT.
That's a bit hard to justify.
Which puts me at a great disadvantage to everyone who can afford that. But still above all those who can't afford that, and still above all those who don't even know what ChatGPT, or I suppose a better way to put it is what ChatGPT is capable of in facilitating and helping you in your day-to-day life. Because, you know, some of the kids don't know what ChatGPT is, full stop. Some of them know it, but they're like, okay, who cares?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you would care when you feed it your homework and it does it for you. That's when you would care. So, yeah, Tyler Adams on the live stream says he's loving using Speechify to read without sounding like a robot. And, you know, like, obviously there's applications where it's like, I'm using ChatGPT right now, not ChatGPT. I'm using AI right now.
I'm using Chatterbait GPT
to create. And when I say I mean our editor Sam is using that to create a documentary and add a whole bunch of stuff in terms of like essentially taking photographs and making them moving images. That's all AI, and we're experimenting with some AI of like, you know, can it do sound design? Can it do like Vidar going, can it do what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know, obviously these are all things that you go, you know, so it'll be very interesting because yes, where is the line between someone creating art and someone prompting art?
Well, the thing is, I don't think it matters too much, right? Because the consumers don't care. If it hits the nerve that it needs to hit, and if it fulfills the need that it is designed to fulfill, we don't really need that organic human grown content anymore. If it gives you all the information and all the entertainment, then what do you need humans for? Humans will become just like everything will become like human art will become like a niche thing. You might have, you know, some people that just want to consume that, and that's good for them, but they're not going to get all the views and all the stuff because they're not in tune with the algorithm and all that stuff. It's just going to be artificial intelligence creating artificial content for us to consume. And as long as we enjoy it and the feedback goes back that we like it, it'll create more just like it. And there'll just be less and less space for any point of us creating, apart from like niche, you know, people who want collectors essentially. Like,
well, yeah,
human content collectors.
And like Paramount.
We're living in the last days for art, for true human generated
absolutely.
art. This is it. We are the cutting edge.
Well, it depends because the
high tide mark for humanity is the Harley podcast.
There may be a rebellion, and there may be a sort of anti-AI art movement. I mean, there is already. So already people are very wary of AI art.
Yeah.
People are very hateful towards it.
I don't like it. When I see it, I'm like,
people are very, sort of, disrespectful. And even when it's used, I guess I would suggest for good, people are like, fuck this AI bullshit. Oh, you can really tell.
People just hate change as well. A lot of people just hate change.
Well, I mean, if the change erases your whole identity and employment, yes.
You can see why they hate them. Yeah.
But I think that like the image thing, for example, was like I paid a person on Fiverr once upon a time to do an anime version of me for like a wrestling t-shirt.
Yeah, it's like Fiverr gone.
And in fact, the Fiverr CEO wrote a letter to everyone on Fiverr. He was like, "Hey guys,
job hunting.
Good news, bad news. Well, no, just bad news. Here's the problem. I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, but he was basically like, everyone that does low level stuff, you're gone. You think you think you've got that job today? You don't. You just like you're sort of living in an imaginary world. Those that are a sort of intermediate level, you're also like we're talking in the very you're fucked as well. The only people that are really have any chance, and I don't want to be hyperbolic here, any chance are experts. And the experts will still work in conjunction with the AI, at least for now. However, so if you are not an expert right now, my advice to you is become an expert immediately or you're fucked. That was his letter to everyone. That was his letter to Fiverr, to the people of Fiverr, to all the artists, all the independent contractors. That was his letter to Fiverr.
Yeah.
And, like the image generation is perfect example because the Studio Ghibli, like, so you know who that is?
Yeah.
So, like essentially people started doing Studio Ghibli style stuff. They kind of stopped it because of copyright infringement, of course. But I just prompted it. I was like, cool, take this photo and do it in the style of Disney's Aladdin. Take this photo and do it in the style of Peanuts. Take this and do it in the style of Dragon Ball Z. Take this and do it in the style of One Piece. Take this and do it in the style of a Renaissance painting. Did it all perfectly. And the problem, I mean, obviously there's lots of problems with that. There's a lot of problems with that. But this is just one update in one day. All those Fiverr people that I used to pay to do that, hey, can you do this and can you make this photo in Dragon Ball Z style? Can you make this photo in a 16-bit Super Nintendo style for me? The Thanos snap gone.
Yeah.
And so
there's really only one industry that's safe. OnlyFans.
OnlyFans, look. Really?
There are AI girls, obviously.
Yeah.
Right? And there are people paying for AI girls and, they can design and create their own AI girl or boy, whatever. Okay, great, cool. That is there. But there are some people that just want to see another human.
But
like if you want to.
But what if your AI
looks like a real
for
human,
all intents and purposes?
But it's not. Whereas like you're actually seeing an actual human, actually stick their fist up their ass. That's like there's something special about that.
There's something irreplaceable piece of art about that.
Yeah, right? And it's like ChatGPT can't do that. It's not real. It's not real.
Yeah, look, I like to me, I disagree in the sense that like, right now. But actually, this is the thing about, for instance, about relationships. Relationships are hard. They're hard work. They involve compromise. They involve negotiation. They involve another actual fucking person. Do you want to have sex tonight, babe? Don't really feel like it.
Yeah.
Do you want to do this sex thing that I'm into?
It sounds a little weird.
Yeah, it's a little weird for me. Sorry.
I don't think my whole fist would fit in
I'm going
there.
to take a pass on that. Maybe if that's what you're into, but that's not what I'm into.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll just
Never ever do that.
and jerk off then.
Yeah.
Now, the AI world is, so whether this is an AI sex bot that
Yeah.
you're just fucking,
Yeah.
or an AI, not even sex bot, an AI relationship bot that you also have sex with,
Yeah.
we're not that far away.
Well,
And
the robots are coming.
The
Literally.
so like if all you do is like if all you do is have sex on the internet,
Yeah.
we're kind of already here, because as in you can just go, hey, AI sex bot, do all my kinks.
Yeah.
Or, you know, show me
You
all
have
the...
to live with yourself when you write them down and see them in writing. You're like,
Well,
oh God, what is wrong with me?
But that's no different to when you're begging your favorite OnlyFans girl to do
those
that
things.
thing.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, but now if we bring in the actual sex robots,
The Optimus bot from the Tesla Optimus bot.
the companion. Thank you, Tyler. He says the companion. The sex the relationship companion is like, the problem is how many people are just gonna be like, look, I want a fuck bot, but that also talks to me as my best friend, but agrees with everything I say and want and believe in,
within the parameters of that programming.
Validates my points of view.
Yeah.
That's way better than a regular relationship with another human being.
This is the future.
Because another human being is going to disagree with me and point out when I'm being a shithead. I don't ever... ChatGPT, never point out to me. ChatGPT sex bot, never point out to me when I'm being a shithead. Only validate my position and give me praise and encouragement for whatever I want, even if it's some weird psycho kink that should have me in jail.
Yeah.
A great point, guy. Oh, she'll do that from now on.
Yeah.
What weird sex thing do you want me to do now that I really love? So there's like that's, and so where does it end?
Here's another factor. Well, I tell you where it ends. It ends with us all having these
no longer being in real relationships,
partners,
just having robot sex bot partners.
Sex. There will still be real sex, obviously, but if Elon Musk is worried about population collapse now, imagine how worried he's going to be when we all start fucking his robots. Like, what do you need to go out and do all of that shit for if you're getting everything at home, like you say, with no issues and no drama, none of the hard work, none of the hard work associated with a relationship. It's going to make you way less motivated to go out and actually enter a proper relationship and like have children. So they're going to have to start making like breeding farms, where you're like, okay, guys, we've got to have a population. We're clones or whatever it is. They'll be like, guys, we've got to boost the population, or we're just going to fade out and the robots are going to take over. So if nobody's willing to have an actual relationship and raise their own children, we're going to have to get donors and like somehow make this all happen. Otherwise, the population will just literally fade away.
Well, I don't think so, because you're forgetting one.
Well, all the people who don't afford, who can't afford.
You're forgetting about poor people, Harley,
Yeah,
and there's going to be
the
There's going to be way more poor people in the future.
Yeah,
thanks to AI than there is right now.
Why thanks to AI?
Because AI is going to make the jobs that they have no longer available
so
to
everybody's
them.
Poor.
So
yeah.
or like
we're poor people.
Yeah, like absolutely. So yes, there'll be an elite class.
Yeah.
Fucking sex bots and that's it.
Yeah.
And just not,
True. And then there's the unwashed masses.
But then there's just going to be a huge group that's like, I can't afford sex bot 2000.
Yeah.
I've just got to do it the old fashioned way.
Wank hand.
I've got to do it the old fashioned way.
You might be right, but here's the thing, right? What if this is the utopian vision for the future, right? Is that the AI it doesn't necessarily take over. It works for us, right? It does everything we need it to do. The robots are programmed by the AI. They do all the physical labor. And we have this abundance that is environmentally sustainable. So it's like sustainable abundance, where basically all of us can have everything that we need and desire, essentially for free or for very cheap, because the labor is basically sun, power from the sun, which has been collected, put in a battery to make a robot go and do your gardening or whatever it is. And you've just got this abundance. And so you've got free time, you've got all the food you need, you've got all the clean water you need, you've got shelter, all that type of stuff. And basically your job is just to pursue your ambitions, your art, your whatever makes you happy, raising a family, that type of thing. And we just live in this utopia. That's kind of what they're aiming for. So it's potential
that's absolutely what fucking Sam Altman or whatever his name is pitching.
Well, that's potentially. Well, no, I mean, Elon Musk also has the same idea, and but that would be the idea, right? Is like everybody has a robot essentially, but like, of course, is that really the future? Or because that's one potential future, but what about all the greedy humans that go, nah, I'm taking your robot. Like I show up around to your house and I'm like, hey, that robot's mine now. You no longer have a robot, and I've got two working for me.
Yeah, like I just think that
gangs,
there's
cyber gangs of robot lords.
Humanity's greed will prevent the utopian version of us.
Well, that's kind of that's potentially
easy.
Yeah.
So
we can aim for that though. These lofty ideals.
Well, I don't know who's aiming for it though, because everyone's actually aiming to not that at the moment. They're aiming for different things. Like, for instance, for ChatGPT, the best AI in the world is not ChatGPT being the most helpful, altruistic AI in the world. They're actually very different goals. And all of them really, their fundamental goal is to stay ahead of all other AIs, which again is not... Hey, stop and be the great AI that... the good
AI that makes everybody happy.
Hey, just stop and now concentrate on solving the world's problems, because obviously that's not going to make the world's most money, and therefore is not actually... So, that's
why you got to choose which AI you want to support for the future, right? You got to figure out, it's the Game of Thrones AI version, right? And you got to figure out which one you're going to support. Now, OpenAI is not the one to support. ChatGPT is not one of the good.
Definitely not the one of the ones to support.
Now, depending on your viewpoint, Grok is, I think, probably the programming of Grok is supposed to be that it's always searching for the truth. So it's not supposed to be good or bad. It's trying to find the truth. What is true? And so, okay, that sounds good. The problem is it's not available on Mac as an app. So I was like, oh, well, ChatGPT it is.
Yeah, Grok ain't going nowhere.
Grok has got, you've still got the browser one. You can use it on a Mac on the browser. But if you want to download the app, it was not available for my Mac. And I was like, what the fuck? My MacBook Pro. I was like, what the hell? Grok, wake up, mate.
Well, I've just got to go to the bathroom.
Well, so do I. I need to pee too. But if we got more to talk about, the show's going great. I've got nowhere to be.
Well, I mean, I do actually have some work to be getting going.
This is work. Building your online audience.
Yeah, but you know what? Is getting paid for my last job is the priority right now. I'll just quickly go to the bathroom.
Well, we'll put up what we need to do then, ladies and gentlemen, because I'll pee too. You got to put up that holding slide,
okay,
and then we'll be back in like less than 5 minutes.
We'll be back in 5.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody, hang around.
We're back.
We are back. That was a great piss.
It was a good one.
The sword fight. It was a good sword fight. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's ChatGPT coming for us all.
Yep. Well, on an unrelated note, there was a panty bandit around the house the other day. My back door was open, and your dog, your cavoodle, came in, young Oscar. He took 3 pairs of panties and absconded. He dropped 2 on the way out the door, and the third one he dropped outside. Yeah. And I assume there's not another one hidden somewhere. Yeah. But that was my personal panty collection. Okay.
Sorry about that.
And also, I was like, on the one hand, I was like, that's kind of cute. But on the other hand, I was like, why is Guy training him to steal people's panties?
Yeah. Well, look, I'm not responsible for my son's fetishes. And so, what can I say? The boy loves panties.
He's a panty man.
He's a panty man.
See, my dog.
He likes socks and panties.
My dog, he's a feet guy. He's a socks guy. Yeah. But, he's open to some panties as well.
That's what I mean.
But he's more of a socks guy. Yeah. Dirty socks. That's his kink.
Yeah, dirty panties, dirty socks.
He's got a profile on FetLife.
Exactly.
It's just him with socks.
That's what he likes. So, yeah, obviously gets a good scolding whenever we catch him. But, we've done our best to mitigate that. But the problem is he's just a bit too smart. He's smart. He gets bored quickly. Yeah. And if he's bored, he's up to mischief.
Well, we're going to be looking after him because you are going away somewhere or something. Is that true?
That's correct. So I'm heading to Japan in 3 days. Or 4 days. 4 days.
That's actually why we wanted to get this podcast done. Was like, well, shit, we've got to get one done before Guy leaves. Or like, Jesus, we're the worst podcasters ever.
4 days, heading to Japan for 2 weeks, or roughly 2 weeks. Got a lot on to do over there,
like tourist stuff,
like as in we're going to a lot of different cities. Yeah. So in that
the itinerary
in that space of time, I think we're going to staying at 5 different places. Yeah. And sort of just trying to make the most of it, not just, for instance, go to Tokyo.
Well, what are the 5 places? So you got
Tokyo, Kyoto, Nara, Hakone. And there's a place near Osaka there's an island. It's not. I don't think it's Miyajima Island, but there's an island that
Iwo Jima.
It's not Iwo Jima. It's not letters from Iwo Jima.
Black sands of Iwo Jima, Nagasaki.
But
letters from Nagasaki.
It's near. It's basically very near Osaka. So we're sort of doing a
Nagasaki.
A loop where we start in Tokyo, we go all the way around, and then we head back to Tokyo, actually Narita, because the airport is Narita, not Tokyo. Yeah. And go there. So really looking forward to it. Haven't been to Japan, and definitely.
So when you first told me that, I thought it must be some wrestling, like a wrestling related thing, because the wrestling's big in Japan. Absolutely,
there's lots of wrestling in Japan.
I was like, oh, maybe you're going for a wrestling thing.
To be perfectly honest, there's probably wrestling on at the time that we're there. Yeah. But I don't actually have any intention of going to the wrestling while I'm over there.
Well, you're working on your holiday.
Well, I just think that, look, I love wrestling. I like watching wrestling, but I actually like seeing sights and, as my dad says, brushing up against history. Yeah. Much more.
Like when I touched the Eiffel Tower, I touched it. Yeah. I made sure to touch it. Yeah. Just to brush up against that history.
Yeah, well, that's taking it very literally.
Yeah. Well, I'm a literal kind of dude, but I feel like if you're there, you got to touch it. If you touch it, if you can.
No, I mean, you got to go up to the top of it, don't you?
Yeah, I didn't bother with that.
So I feel like that was the thing to do.
Didn't bother. No, the thing was, here's the thing. The main reason why, right, was because I was like, I'd only recently been traveling. I'd only just arrived. I'd been in fucking planes for ages. I'd been in buses and planes and trains and automobiles, and then we get to Paris, and then there's like you got to walk up all these stairs and then go up like an elevator. It's like you don't just walk up there, it's like there's elevators, and
it's time consuming,
and it was totally booked. Like there was heaps of people around because it was close to the Olympics, so there's thousands of people there, and it was just going to be paying, and it was expensive. So it was like, you're going to be paying all this money to then get in this little box, to then go up the top, when I felt kind of a little bit still sick, kind of like a little bit just like jet lagged and fucked. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to touch the base.
I'm going to touch the bottom here.
I'm just going to touch the bottom, and I'm going to have a look around. I'm going to get a picture. And then I caught up with Hugo, who you might recall from I Survived the Zombie Holocaust shoot, who's a director of photography over there in France, in Paris, shooting all sorts of stuff. And he showed us around, and we rode bikes. It was awesome.
Well, look, I'll say one thing about the French. They do love film, and they have respect for it in a way that Westerners don't.
Well, they are Westerners, but yeah.
Well, are they?
Yeah, they're like the definition of Westerner, right?
To me, the definition of
Western than like France and England.
The definition of Western is America.
Right. Okay.
American culture.
Okay. Fair. Yeah, they're probably the leader.
But
shout out to Tyler Adams for being the leader of the
Western culture,
the Western world, and the rest of Western culture. And also, by the way, Tyler Adams, Kiwi Jezza says that ChatGPT can't be promoted to steal panties. So that's true. There you go. So there's certain things that ChatGPT just can't do. And Tyler Adams is House Grok, by the way. He's House Grok. He's a Grok man.
Fucking Grok.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So, Japan.
Yeah. So I guess I'm just more interested in seeing the sites. And because yes, we will be going to Hiroshima.
I was going to say, I was going to joke. So no Hiroshima, no Nagasaki.
We will be going to Hiroshima to the I think it's called the Peace Memorial.
Yeah, that's what I'd do too if I was around that area. Have a look.
Yeah. So Japan, it's going to be cool. Problems with Japan, expensive.
Yeah, it's not a cheap place.
Expensive. To like the JRL pass is actually very expensive. It's gone up, but it's now like essentially $1,000 per person. So that's
what is JRL? Is that the rail?
That's essentially the
transport like pass.
It's but primarily for the bullet train,
right?
And then some of the metro lines in each place also run on the JR Pass.
Yeah.
So it's very good to have if you... So for instance, it's not really worth it unless you're going to a lot of different places, but that's what we are doing. So it is worth it. But still, that's $1,000. The accommodation... each. The accommodation is sort of $200 plus per night in most places. Yeah. Unless you want to, stay in one of those
like a hostel.
Like I was going to say, those sleep capsules. Obviously they are a lot cheaper. But
I slept in
it's a sleep capsule.
Similar, like it was not quite a sleep capsule. It was but it was like a little tiny box. Same thing, same concept. In Edinburgh, and it was actually, and there was like 8 other people in the room, or fucking something like that, maybe 9 other people in the room, and there was all these little boxes that you slept in, and I actually had a great sleep, and it was all good. And it was like, even you go in there during the day, and it was like very quiet. Everybody would whisper and be respectful of each other. And this was at a really busy time at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, so it was like all packed out, and it was like still a nice quiet place to sleep. I think I had a sleep during the day one day because I was so fucked. And so, it was good. Those sleep capsules, not so bad. Although, if you want to sleep with your partner, obviously not so good.
Not ideal. Yeah,
not so good.
Couldn't quite sell my heavily pregnant wife on that.
So you're going to bring that up? You're just going to drop that? Right no announcement made. That was it. That was the announcement, everybody.
Heavily pregnant wife. Yeah. Should hey, chuck her in the cat. Yeah. How about the sleep capsule?
Yeah.
How's that for you? How's that for you?
Good. You're good. We'll all 3 of us will squeeze into this little capsule.
But I am looking forward to the trip. It will be the last hurrah before a child will exist in the world. Hopefully, touch wood, everything going well. Yeah. Maybe more difficult to travel after that.
And absolutely, totally. And how does that feel for you? Is that an exciting new frontier? Or what? I mean, what's the thought process here? Like, because obviously it's finally time. You've finally reached the cliff, and you've jumped off it, and now the baby is coming.
I think it will be exciting and all those sorts of things, but right now it's just not real.
Yeah,
it's not. I mean,
real at 3 a.m. when you got shit on your finger and you're looking at this full nappy and this crying baby, and you're like, God.
Yeah, it's kind of not real till it happens. Like at the moment, it's still an idea.
Yeah,
it's just an idea, and so I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be cool. Obviously do have reservations about bringing a kid into this world, given all that we've just talked about.
Yeah. I think it's got to be done, though.
I mean, it depends on your perspective. I don't think it has to be done.
my perspective is we've got two options. One is we fade away to nothing. The other one is we persevere. We must persevere.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's like we might as well persevere and let our children die in a nuclear holocaust rather than them never being born at all. At least they've got a chance if they die. If there's a nuclear holocaust, at least they've got a chance. Well, if they're never born, no chance.
No one's saying that not persevere. I think we're just saying
as a species persevere.
Do I specifically need to put a perseverance person into this world?
Yeah.
Is that a thing that is a great thing for me to do?
Yeah.
And, I feel like the answer is not a cut and dry. Oh, absolutely. But here we are. So, yeah, but no, it doesn't really feel real to me at the moment. And I don't think it will until there is a baby existing.
Yeah, in your house. Yeah. Through my wall. Screaming through the wall.
Yep, could well be.
I did wonder about that, but I was more wondering the other way. I was wondering, like, if I have kids, is my kid screaming at night going to be keeping you guys awake? Is what I was thinking.
I don't think so.
The wall's pretty thick. It should be okay.
But I also
put up some soundproofing. On the hallway.
I mean, you do own a house.
Yeah, well, that would be another option. It's like,
I
could always just move to my estate.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
Yeah. Well, look, I might not be that far. Nothing to report. Absolutely nothing to report. No announcements. Nothing to report. But I might not be that far behind you on the.
There we go.
On the what's the word?
You always just got to copy me.
Siring.
Yeah, copy me.
Yeah, copying guy is like he's the first one. He always just comes up with these great original ideas, like having a kid. So, got to copy him.
There we go. Tyler says Lilo and Corbin did it. There's his kids.
They did what?
Came into this world, I guess.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And they're now 8 and 11.
Oh, Joanna Sequa says, congratulations, guy.
Thank you.
Shout out. Oh, they're all, yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate the congratulations. I feel good. I feel lucky to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Lucky to be able to do it. And once they come screaming into the world, it'll feel real. I bet it will, Tyler. I bet it will feel really real. I feel it'll feel really real when I have to pay the rent and I'm paying for a baby at the same time and I have no income because ChatGPT has essentially erased my ability to
provide for my family.
Exactly. Yeah. It'll feel real right there.
Yeah.
And I'm so that'll be interesting. So
shout out to the Pittman family, by the way. Ashley Pittman and his family, they've been tuning in. So it might look like there's one viewer, but actually there's multiple viewers on one link, on one view count. So shout out to the Pittmans.
Okay. Oh yeah. Tyler says that was the sleep capsule thing. Lilo and Corbin. His kids are Corbin and Tegan. I don't know. I'm confused.
Yeah, I'm confused too. But yes. Well,
chuck them in the capsule.
Yeah.
Chuck those kids in the capsule. Look, I have no issues when I have a kid putting him in the capsule.
The thing is, for me, right, I don't feel like I'm in any mad rush to be going and having kids. Even though I'm getting older, I'm like, well, I'm a man. I can, do it for a long, long time. Probably it's okay. But I'm also thinking like, well, do I really want to be 50 years old? This is going to be reality, right? It would be like, I'll be 50 years old and I'll have like a 7-year-old kid if I have a kid like right now. So it's like, do I really want to be like, I want to be like a fun dad, I want to be like, let's go and, throw the ball, son. You know, I don't want to be like, yeah, my fucking back hurts. I'm bored and I've got low energy. I want to go to bed. You know, you see, like, this is something I never really thought about. Like, my sister is a lot younger than me. She's 18. And my mum's like in her 60s, which is the right age for me, but very young for her. And so my sister's friends' parents would all be like way younger, you know, they'd be like 20 somethings and 30 somethings, you know, when they were at school, you know, and my mum would be way older. And I was just, just thinking about that type of stuff. And I was thinking, well, I don't want to like be like an old dad. When I was younger, I just assumed I'd be so rich that I didn't care. You know, I'd be like, well, by the time it comes time to have kids, I'll be so rich and I'll just have a nanny and I'll have all that stuff in the house and all that. And it'll be all organized and it'll be all good. And I can just do it at any old age. It doesn't matter. But now I'm like, well, shit, actually, I better fucking get on with that, right? Like,
yeah, old dads aren't really cool. I mean, I would look at it more from the perspective of, like, okay, if my kid is 42, which I am now, I'll be 82.
Exactly. You'll be like,
you know, so do I want to see my kid be a grown-up? And the answer is absolutely. I want to see them do their thing. So, yeah, and I look, hey, man, on the flip side, Pacino, De Niro.
What, they got no kids?
No, they're having kids at like 82.
Oh, right, yeah.
82.
But that's the thing, they're rich.
Yeah,
so they can do
obviously
it.
that
you know, that's the big thing, is like, I want to be Pacino having kids at 82.
But
I've got to temper my expectations.
They've also had kids at a younger age. I've
got to be real.
They've also had kids with their first wives at much younger ages.
Yeah, I hate my first wife.
So you know, I wouldn't. I also wouldn't say that was their best choice necessarily to do that.
No, sort of for the population.
I don't know where you get this population from thing, though.
Well, there's this idea that essentially...
I know there's this idea.
That essentially the populations are aging, which is true, right? As in, basically what's happening is in places like New Zealand and Japan, you know, people are getting older, and now the demographic is shifting, where it's going from like more people are over 65 and needing retirement, and less people are entering the workforce. So there's less tax dollars, and it causes problems for the economy, basically, because you've got this big, heavy elderly population to look after with not very many tax payers. So that's a real thing. The thing that is not really kind of the part of it that rings untrue to me is that, yes, that's true in places like, say, New Zealand and a bunch of other places. But what about like poor countries? Like poor countries, I don't think are having that problem. Like we in New Zealand, we reach 42 and decide to have our one child. But of course, there's two people, right? There's you and your wife. There's me and my girlfriend, right? If we have one child, then then when we die, the earth has one less person in it, right? So we've got to have at least two children each, you know, two per couple, I mean, in order to maintain the population as it is. And so that's the thing. We're not doing that. But in the third world, I'm pretty sure they're having kids with hats off, you know?
Well, I'd also argue that, like, if the population, like, yes, there is a different side of problem if like the older population, I guess, is too great. But you know, if they can all work for much longer and not be like essentially just requiring care in that time, then that changes whether that's necessarily so significant.
Well, so you're saying about like if people work longer than 65 instead of retiring.
Like if
which they could do.
And also if people are healthier longer.
Yeah.
So
but only if they're working. It doesn't matter if they're healthy in terms of the economy.
Well, you know, but I guess
they're not paying tax,
their cost, their cost on the
is
less as well
because
if they're healthy.
Healthier.
And also, like, for instance, like if the population diminishes, like if we're at 8 billion now and we diminish to 6 billion, that might be a good thing.
So bad?
That might be a good thing for the earth and the health of the overall earth.
Yeah.
So again, it's not necessarily a like shit. Like now, if we get into a children of men's situation, yeah, absolutely. Let's start worrying, but we're certainly not there yet.
No, it's definitely a future problem. If it's a problem, it's a future problem.
Yeah. So I think.
But hey, you're doing half of your bit, right? You're replacing at least yourself, but not your partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I finally finished. So I started reading ages ago. I started reading Jordan Peterson's book. Right, first book of his I've ever read.
The 7 Rules.
The 7 Rules. Yeah. And I started reading it, and then I was like, "This is like word salad." You know, like this
sounds like Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, I was like, it was okay. I don't think it's 7 rules. I think it's called 12 Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter, or something like that. And I wanted him to say some smart stuff, you know, but it was kind of like Christian propaganda. Like it sort of had like everything had this kind of Christian-y kind of aspect
Cloaked
to
in
it.
self-help.
Exactly, sort of disguised as this sort of word salad self-help type stuff. And I would drift off sometimes because I'm listening. So I started reading it, got sick of reading it, didn't read enough, but so I was like, fuck, I got to go back and get the audiobook. I got to complete this. I'm a completionist. And so I was like, okay, so I listened to the audiobook, and sometimes I'd drift off and I wouldn't skip back. You know, I wouldn't skip. Normally I'd skip back and be like, oh, fuck, what did I miss? You know, but I wouldn't skip back because he was just talking so much shit. And so, yeah, he'd be like, he'd say things that sound smart, but then aren't kind of upon further, you know, investigation.
Deconstruction,
you're
yeah.
like, well, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Like he'd go like, if A's true, then B is the logical conclusion. And you go, yeah, that's true. He's got a point there. You know, that's logical. Wait a minute. A isn't true. What's this statement that you've made?
Yeah.
Where did this come from?
Yeah.
You know, it's just asserted. You know, he's just asserted it with no, like, you know, good explanation and stuff like that. And so, yeah, anyway, basically I was like, not that impressed, but, you know, it was readable.
Yeah, look, obviously I don't have a very high opinion of Jordan Peterson, but, but I also think that he's got way worse.
Yeah.
So you're reading peak Peterson. You're reading like Peterson pre-brain damage, pre-right-wing pilled, even, and I will say this very specifically, where does my money come from Peterson, which is sort of like, again, like what's my gravy train? What's going to pay? Okay, it's this collection of people. Okay, this is the people I talk to, and I say things that appeal to them.
Yeah.
So that's pre all that, where he's just like, who is that audience? Oh, a lot of fucking crazy right wingers read Christian right wing kind of bros read my stuff. Hardcore mansplaining bros. Okay, that's my audience.
Like me.
And so I, you know, and then he realized that, and he plays further and further into that as we go along. But you were reading it before he didn't really know that. He was like, I've got some ideas.
Yeah.
I'm a dude. I got some ideas.
Yeah. No, I mean, not all of the 12 ideas are bad. You know, not all of you know, it's there's some value there.
Absolutely. Well, look, you know, like, you know, be a good family man is like one of his sort of pitches.
Yeah.
It's pretty good advice.
Yeah.
You know, and like the sort of, you know, looking for stability and all that. So there's definitely, you know, things that aren't wrong there.
Yeah.
Or shouldn't be wrong for lots of people to employ and work for, which is part of the reason how he became so successful.
Yeah.
But yeah, now he's a fucking nutcase.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
If you listen to anything that he says now, it's I mean, if you listen, I mean, I do encounter, like, there's a few podcasts where he's like, or maybe quite a recent podcast where he has a debate with an atheist, basically.
Right.
And, well, it just shows his sort of, his tricks.
Yeah.
Very, very obviously, like, you know, he obviously just never gives good answers because, I mean,
he's fighting from a flawed position.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't win when you're fighting from a flawed position.
Especially if you're someone that considers themselves an intellectual fighting from that place.
Yeah.
Because you can't employ the sort of the general broad tactics of, like, hey man, you just got to believe, and
Yeah.
all those sorts of things that work.
It's about faith. You just gotta believe.
You know, you can't question it. That's the whole point of it. If you question it, you're missing the point. You know, like you can't say any of that stuff in these type of intellectual debates.
So who?
I can't remember the name.
On top? Who came
Oh,
out on
obviously not Jordan Peterson.
Right.
But Jordan Peterson, again, you know, talking about word salads just kind of devolves into, hey, I don't want to answer the question, but let's go off on these 5 different tangents. And the guy's like, let's not, but like bringing it back to none of those tangents. Can you just say, like, explain X?
Yeah.
Well, to explain X, what are we really doing? Like, what is climate change? What is it really? Like, when you say climate change, climate is always changing. Yeah. So when we talk about climate change, we can't even really we can't even really talk realistically about the topic because climate is always changing. Therefore, climate change is always real. Therefore, climate change does not exist. That's a Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
That's a Peterson special.
Yeah.
So imagine that for every single point. So anyway, everyone's sort of like, and apparently like, you know, afterwards he was not happy because, you know, they made him look like an imbecile because that's the other thing is like Jordan Peterson was an intellectual.
Yeah. Well, he's still, as far as I'm aware, still a lecturer at some great university.
Yeah. You know, which is fine until someone, you know, which is the whole point of you know, is like, people challenge your position. He's not good with people challenging his position. So anyway, so I'll just counter that Peterson recommendation.
I wouldn't say it was a recommendation. I would not really. I'm not sure I would say calling it word salad and Christian propaganda is quite a recommendation. I'm just saying, like, I'm sure I took something away from it. I don't regret reading it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Whereas
don't regret it.
Werner Herzog has released a autobiography called which is very Werner of him to call it this, Every Man for Himself and God Against All. And Werner's a fucking G.
Yeah.
Werner is like, if you were to look at a life and go, I just want to live the most varied, interesting, eclectic life as a filmmaker, but as a human being, well, according to this autobiography, he's really done some crazy shit, but also a very rich life, one full of sort of surprising moments that, you know, like, because he's straddled this line between documentarian and sort of fiction filmmaker. And in doing so, it has given him some incredible and remarkable opportunities, you know, to see some of the greatest things that a human being could possibly witness and document some of the greatest things in human history, from like those cave paintings on the wall, which I can't remember wherever the fuck that he went to do that.
France, I'm guessing.
To like the NASA space exploration and talking to the astronauts, and, you know, he's just done very interesting stuff and continues to do very interesting stuff. Has a very interesting perspective because he's lived a fucking life. You know, he sort of came out of like, you know, Germany and the, you know, just coming out of, you know, Hitler and all that sort of thing, and crazy life. So it's definitely like there's a lot of autobiographies where it's like nothing interesting happens in your life till you become famous. And that's what we're all interested in. And then things are quite interesting from there on. That I would sum up as most autobiographies. This is not that. It's like, dude, you've done some crazy shit before you ever made a fucking film.
Yeah.
Like crazy shit. So I highly recommend that as an autobiography. And I still haven't finished it yet. I've still got 7 hours to go.
Are you listening or you're reading?
I'm listening.
Yeah.
But I'm at chapter 17. So I'm assuming I'm probably about halfway through. But, you know, and even his stories about making some of the movies and what happened on some of those sets is like, damn, dude, filmmaking is hard. Shit goes wrong. And it's your attitude towards that shit going wrong that really defines you in the film, because shit will go wrong. And that is important to remember when you go, oh, fuck, everything's failing because it wasn't a smooth shoot. It's like, don't worry about that, buddy.
You'll figure it out.
Just the greatest films of all time were very much not smooth shoots.
So far, you're enjoying the book. You say, yes, we should read that
Yeah,
book.
great book.
Okay. And
Great book.
we'll add it to our list. Now, Tyler Adams on the live stream says that us having kids, but you going first, is like the end of Older,
That's right.
our feature film. So there's a link in the description if you want to go watch Older. It's there. It's on Tubi and Amazon and various other places. So go search for Older if you want to go and watch that if you haven't seen it. Great film. And yes, at the end of the film, spoiler alert, I have a baby and Guy has not had one.
But he's about to.
Yes. And then also Kiwi Jezza asks if Jordan Peterson narrates the book and did it sound like being given advice by Kermit the Frog? And the answer is yes, he did narrate it.
God damn. That's
He
somehow
narrated the whole
worse
thing.
to me.
No, I wouldn't have. I actually checked before I listened. I was like, is this narrated by him or by somebody else? Because I want to hear it from his mouth.
Well,
You know, I want to hear what he has to say. I don't want to hear like the emphasis being on the wrong word
sure.
or any of that type of stuff. I was like, I want to hear it from him. So yeah, it was indeed.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I think that probably is a good point to wrap it up on Peterson.
Okay.
The pedophiles.
Oh, just quickly though, the new Yay song slaps, right?
I haven't heard it. I haven't signed up for Kanye. Look, if there's ever you ever want to track look, obviously there is examples, but certainly one of the largest fall from graces, Kanye West, to full-blown Nazi, or I don't know, it's not even clear whether he's a Nazi or just a fan of Nazis.
No, see, here's the thing.
Big fan of Nazis.
I think you're right. It's probably just a crazy fall from grace, and he's gone nuts, and all that stuff. But I listened to the new song. It's quite catchy.
Hey, look, don't get me wrong.
It's quite catchy.
Well, look, I'll be the first.
I found myself muttering the chorus when walking around one day, and I was like, shit, I better not say that out loud. I've got to stop saying that out loud. People are going to think really poorly of me.
Yeah, like, I mean, what's weird is, like, I think that no one can question that he is a great musician. Like, I don't think that's an argument you can make. And, like, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is, I think, will go down as one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time. But the problem is the Nazi stuff.
Well, okay, so here's the bit where I'm like, I agree, I'm 100% with you. But here's the bit where I'm wondering if he's actually a super genius. Okay, this is the one little bit, right? Is that people kept on calling him Hitler.
Yeah.
Right. And calling him a Nazi, all related because the internet, everybody on the internet is a Nazi, according to everybody else on the internet. And he was being, called a Nazi. Like, and so he made a song, which
the one that was called "I Am a Nazi." Was that what it was called?
I don't know what it's called.
Okay.
So the chorus goes, "Ninja Heil Hitler." He doesn't say ninja.
Yeah.
Ninja Heil Hitler, and he's got all these like sort of a big group of black men all saying this chorus.
Yeah.
Right. And so basically, like, people called him Hitler. So he said, all right, if I'm Hitler, let's make a song called Heil Hitler.
Yeah.
Like, basically, Heil me.
Yeah.
Like, Heil yay.
Yeah.
You know, the black man who's out here, like, this is ridiculous that you could even call me a Nazi.
Yeah.
Why would I be a Nazi if I'm a black man? You know, it just, none of this makes any sense.
Yeah.
So, you know, Heil Hitler, as in Heil me, as in fuck you. So that is potentially what he's saying, in which case, I kind of like it. I think it's kind of cool. If he is a Nazi who's saying like, we should like get behind the Nazis, well, then obviously that's just a terrible fall from grace. You know?
I just think the problem is, I think he's like, again, I'm not sure that he's a Nazi. I think he's just a fan of Nazis.
Or a troll.
With a little bit of troll mixed in to his appreciation of Hitler.
Yeah.
And what he was capable of as a leader.
Depending on who you ask.
But he is definitely very racist towards Jewish people.
Right.
And I feel like, we've kind of seen, like, it's like, you can't say some of the stuff that he said about Jewish people.
Yeah. Can't say it on this podcast or we'll get cancelled.
Well, you yourself as a oppressed minority,
me, boldism,
cannot attack another oppressed. Like that's the big disconnect for Kanye is that it's like you understand what oppression is. You have been the victim of racism. Therefore, you cannot perpetrate this on other people and expect, well, anyone to no longer have sympathy from your perspective of oppression, but also it's like you it doesn't make sense when you're an oppressed person. It makes sense for people who are not of a race that is, come from slavery and
it makes sense for them to be Nazis.
Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. It makes sense for someone from the fucking South who used to have a cotton farm. Yeah, it makes sense for them to be a racist.
Yeah,
it makes all the sense in the world. They could never ever see.
Not someone who worked on the cotton
exactly.
farm.
They could never ever see the perspective of the person that worked for them on those places and was a slave and all the inhumane shit they suffered through. They could never see that because they never ever lived that. He fucking lived that and then turns around and goes, hey, these other people, yeah, fucking these people are fucking the worst. I hate these people. You can't trust any of them. Yeah. And, and that's the disconnect is like, dude, you can't. Yeah. Separate to all the Heil Hitler trolling or whatever else he's doing.
It's okay to be racist against, if you're a minority, you shouldn't be racist against other minorities. Yeah. You should be racist against the oppressive white man, the colonialists. Yeah. That's who you should be racist against. If you're going to pick against, not the other minorities. Yeah. That's the bit that doesn't make too much sense to me.
It doesn't add up. But look, he is an example too of like, look, when you make one of the best
crazy, you eventually get
drunk with power and riches is like when you make one of the greatest albums of all time. What can people tell you that makes sense to you? Like as in terms of advice, like, hey man, you better cool it with this anti-Jew stuff. Why the fuck should I listen to you? I made the best rap album of all time, and I'm super rich. So obviously, my mindset and perspectives make all the sense in the world. That's what got me here. Yeah. My racism got me here. Yeah. All right. My anti-Jewish stance got me here. That's how I got here. As Kanye West, the man that made one of the best albums ever. So if I'm wrong, how could I be? That's the problem with rich people, very, very rich, successful people.
Here's another problem, though, is that the internet is so toxic and divisive that it calls everybody a Nazi all the time. And it's like, depending on who you ask on the internet, I'm either a woke libtard cuck or I'm a Nazi. There's no in between. Or a Nazi
sympathizer.
I'm a Nazi sympathizer or I'm a woke libtard cuck, right? I'm somehow both neither and both at the same time. I'm Schrodinger's cuck.
You're just a Nazi sympathizer.
I'm Schrodinger's cuck. I'm Schrodinger's Nazi sympathizer.
You're just a Nazi sympathizer because you like Elon.
Because I like Elon Musk. Yeah. Well, yeah. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying out there. But hey, speaking of being a minority, as a bald man, people, when I see hairy-headed people that have shaved their heads, that's like blackface for me. Okay?
Clip that one up, people.
That's like
clip
blackface.
That one up.
So if you've got a full head of hair and you're thinking of shaving your head,
again.
Just don't, okay? It's inappropriate and it's disrespectful. Okay? You think about how your actions affect the people around you.
Oh, there we go. Okay? Clip that one up.
Well, on that note,
it
might be time for us to wrap up this episode of the Guy and Harley podcast. It's been fun, Guy. Have a good time in Japan.
Thank you.
We'll do an episode when you get back. Get all the updates of how you and your heavily pregnant wife got on in the sleep capsule and the trains and what have you. And congratulations.
Thank you.
On becoming a dad soon.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Announcing it. Big news. I wasn't sure if you were going to bring it up. I obviously wasn't going to bring it up. It's like not my place to bring that up.
I debated not bringing it up.
And then you just dropped it unceremoniously.
Yeah, look, honestly, this is the thing. it's special to me.
Is it special to the listeners? Nothing special that we talk about.
I guess it's like, oh, congratulations, man.
You did what every human ever done.
You fucking traditionally lived life. Do you want a fucking medal for that? There we go. He's lost he spat out his beer
onto
his laptop to end the show. But it's like, oh, great. It's just weird. It's like, yes, congratulations. That's a cool thing. But also, yes, congratulations on living life in the most conventional, traditional
medal.
Traditional, conventional way that 90% of people do.
Yeah.
Is that really an achievement that should be applauded? Not so sure. Is that, something that we like, life should be celebrated? I agree with that. But it's just a bit of a weird thing are we seeking a pat on the back? I mean, I'm not personally, and I'm very aware that, like, well, there's
you've got to announce it at some point.
Well, yeah, but probably after it's born.
Maybe you don't. You're just like, I've got a 5-year-old, by the way.
Well, it's just like, I don't think I can come out because my kid is, I've got to take care of my kid. Oh, you got a kid? Yeah, I've got a kid.
Yeah.
You? Yeah, I've got a kid too.
Yeah.
Because you're 40 as well?
Look,
Yeah,
I've
got a kid.
I'm not 100% with you on that one because I feel like
we all have children.
Me and the listeners, as your friends and social circle, want to hear about it. And we think it's good. It's exciting. It's interesting. It might be what every human ever has ever done.
That's what I mean.
The miracle of childbirth, the only miracle that literally every human ever has experienced.
Yeah.
But hey, we're still happy for you.
Yeah. And I think that's true. Like, so yeah, I appreciate the congratulations, and I appreciate that people are like, that's cool, man. I just feel like it's like, what the real challenge is? Having a kid and raising it well to be a good human being. It's not having it. Yeah, having it's the easy part. It's like, okay, cool. Now it doesn't grow up to be a shithead.
Yeah.
It doesn't grow up to hate you. It doesn't grow up to hate the world. And it is a contributing member of society. That will be the real achievement. The real achievement.
Yeah,
and then
you'll never know. You'll never know because you'll be in denial. If you've raised a little shitbag that's a horrible person, you won't be, as a parent, you won't be capable of acknowledging it.
Well, they say that. I think that you will, but we'll see. But I guess wouldn't that be the true time to congratulate? Like, oh, what's your son doing? Oh, well, he's just figured out the cure for this specific type of cancer. He's on the team. Yeah. He's on the research team that have just figured out this new miracle drug that is curing this specific type of aggressive cancer.
It's a very terrestrial achievement, though.
Wow, that's great. Oh, okay. Well, he's just made this great movie that's grossed, or his book is the best-selling book of blah blah blah. Or he's a nurse. He helps people every day in the hospital. Wow, that's beautiful, man. Yeah. That's fantastic. He's a teacher. He teaches kids how to use AI responsibly.
But none of that are the main things that people make a person good or bad. You just got to ask, like, are they like happy? Are they a happy person?
Well, that doesn't make a person good or bad.
No,
whether they're happy or not.
Not exclusively, but it makes them whether or not morally good or bad. But are they a good person to have around? Are they a good person? A good contributing member to our society.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. They're a positive, happy person, and they're happy, and they're doing okay, and they're paying their taxes, and they're not hurting anybody. They don't have to be a rocket scientist.
Well, I gave some good examples there of non-rocket scientist roles.
Yeah.
But I do think that, like, you can't just be like, well, are they happy?
Well, no, because you can be an absolute psychopath. And
exactly.
You can have a shit-eating grin on your face as you eat feces.
But are they happy, though?
Happy. He's happy. He's a happy guy. Yum, 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 yum.
But he's happy. That's the main thing, right?
Yeah.
No, it's not the main thing.
No, but I mean a contributing member to society. I'm just saying you don't have to have such high standards.
Well,
he's allowed to not be. Yeah, you said a nurse and stuff.
I said a nurse.
Yeah.
I said he could write a novel. He'd cure cancer. He could be a nurse.
Yeah.
But look.
But these are all jobs, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, most people are defined by their
That's
jobs.
what I'm trying to get at. Is like he doesn't have to be defined by that. He can be defined by just having lived a happy life.
Unemployed.
Having lived
in the
a
chat
positive
GPT
and
realm.
happy life. Yeah. And that's okay.
Well, I think that any person will, through their job, will be the significant part of their positivity to life. Like, for instance, whether that is, I work for free for a charity, that's still a job. That is the thing that's doing good in the world. So, they, to some degree, will be defined by whatever they choose as their profession in that pursuit of a good life. Or they'll be unemployed freelancer like myself.
The real kind of trick here, right, is you want to raise that good person while also holding on to your individuality and personality and chasing your own ambitions and your own dreams. Obviously, for a little while, it's going to be required that you're going to, not you specifically, people need to put their work into the kid for a while.
Not me. I've already got a contingency plan in place for that, so you don't.
What's that? Working from home?
No, the granny nanny.
The granny nanny. Oh, yeah. The granny nanny. Yeah, I'm working on that. My girlfriend's parents are here at the moment, and I'm trying to figure out a way to get them to move over, The granny nanny.
Granny nanny will save my creative aspirations.
Yeah, because you'll still have time.
Yeah.
Because you offload the kid onto
Granny. Yeah. Going deep into this planning.
It's good that you've got the support network around you to do that, though. That's awesome, because it's not your mum, it's your wife's mum.
That's right.
But it's good. It's good that you've got that option.
Yeah,
awesome.
And like lots of people don't. So let's just be very clear about that. Also, I will say in some in some societies, like for instance in like Samoan culture, that's just what happens. So if you, which is great for the parent, which is essentially you go off and live with your grandparents. And you're looked after by your grandparents for a significant portion of time because your grandparents aren't working, but your parents are working.
Yeah.
So they still got to work.
Yeah.
So you go off and get taken care of your grandparents and then, loop back around. And I was like,
it's great.
Don't hate it.
And as a parent, you only raise one child, but you raise them when you're 60 or 70.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, to be honest, the bad deal, depending, and this has not been my experience. Like, grandparents tend to love being grandparents.
Yeah.
Like, really, really love it. But that's also because they ultimately only have to take care of the child. They don't have to be a true parent to the child, or if they do, it's for like 1 day a week.
Exactly. It's the honeymoon period.
So, and ultimately some of the big problems are taken off their plate. So I'm not sure how I would personally feel if my son is like, Dad, I'm out of here. Take care of my kid for the next 10 to 20. Because you're not up to too much, but I got this flourishing career right now.
Got shit to do.
I'll be like, well, hold on a second. I didn't sign up for that.
Yeah.
I want to be traveling the world or something. I'm not sure. I just want to be stuck with a kid now.
Yeah.
Until I die. I'm not sure if that was my option, but to each their own.
Well, look, on
the granny nanny,
on
activated,
on looking on not getting to chase your dreams and looking after a kid or whatever it was you just said, you just said a sentence. On that note, we will need to get the hell out of here. It's been a great show. Thank you so much for listening. Use all the links in the description. And we will be back at some point when Guy gets back from Japan. It's going to be a lot of fun.
See you later.
See you later.